Good morning. It is 9:08 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show a ton of different ways, man. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch the show, too. Super Talk TV is live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Hit like, hit subscribe, please do. I just jumped into the YouTube chat. First comment of the day with a huge win is our friend Adam, who said, I'm the first like on the show today. We're sending those kids to camp. We are going to be sending those kids to camp. Shout out to Adam. Hit like and subscribe. The more likes we get, the better the camp's going to be. The kids need the likes. So hit like and subscribe.
Tired of folding boxes.
You know, hey, what are you going to do? They got little hands. We got to put them to work.
Teeny tiny hands.
Teeny tiny hands. Mason Fleming is producing. Joan Jones is in the newsroom. And oh my gosh, it's Friday. Isn't that awesome?
Woo-hoo.
So excited.
Dude, this week has been dragging. Hasn't it? Is it just
It's
me?
been ups, like extreme ups with all the like releases from Trump with the agreement and everything. And then like it's been a couple of little lulls.
Yeah, it's been wild. I spent last evening, there was a Riley Gaines event. I went and saw Riley Gaines and a few people from Turning Point USA at Grace Baptist Church in Nashville. So we did that last night, which was fun, but it just seems like we've just been going nonstop. And it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon.
It's because there's momentum.
Is that what it is?
It is. It is. The momentum behind righting the ship has been fun to be on.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going today as fast as we can, as hard as we can. Bo and Gabe, Bo Diddle's going to be coming into the studio. He's got a fun couple of stories that are, and I say fun, and by fun, I mean downright horrifying, and it's going to make you upset. That kind of fun. Well, I guess it's fun. The stories are fun, but they're going to make you angry and upset. I guess that's kind of confusing.
Yeah, fun is adopting its own meaning right now.
It's we're going to have the kind of fun with Bo Diddle and Gabe today at 11:05 that will make you angry and confused.
Fun to have them on, not the topic they're covering.
Okay, so let me give you a little sneak peek. There was a guy at a protest for LGBTQIA two-spirit animal rights. Okay? And this guy was very upset with Bo. And I mean, I know. Like Bo's like the nicest guy. He's like a giant teddy bear. I don't know why he'd be upset with Bo. Very upset with Bo. And he screamed at Bo with a megaphone, like straight in his ear, "You're a Nazi."
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's just great.
We just found out that the guy that screamed at Bo with a megaphone, Nazi in his ear, just got arrested for being a pedophile. So we're going to talk about all that with Bo. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm telling you. It's going to be a fun interview that will leave you angry and confused. Do you understand where I'm coming from now?
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
He
Totally
sounds angry and confused.
It's going to be fun, but you're going to be angry and confused. So that's going to happen around 11 o'clock.
Way to start the weekend.
So we're looking forward to that. Bo's got a couple other stories that will also leave you angry and confused, and you're going to find it a bit oddly enjoyable. So we're looking forward to that around 11:05. Is that right? Now you get
yeah.
I had to explain it, but it makes sense when you put it in the context, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
That sounds fun, and I'm angry and confused.
Makes sense.
Thank you. All right, so yesterday we talked about Pam Bondi a little bit. And we talked about James Comer, and James Comer says, you don't have the goods. And then Pam Bondi came out like moments later at the White House. She was like, BS, I got the goods regarding Epstein. And she made this comment about the FBI going through tens of thousands of videos, all right? This is the first time that she had made this comment publicly.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm what the status of them? They still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find.
So again, Comer went on the Benny Johnson show and said Bondi and the DOJ don't have the goods or the evidence when it comes to the Epstein files. Pam Bondi went out the next morning and said, that is bovine scatology. I absolutely have the goods, and we have tens of thousands of videos that we're going through. This is the first time that she ever publicly made the comment that they have tens of thousands of videos of individuals engaged in just the most horrific crimes, okay? The first time she's ever commented on it. Also, percolating beneath the surface yesterday during the show, a shoe we were waiting to drop, was this James O'Keefe story. And a lot of people were saying that he has a Pam Bondi story. So we were very interested. And the timing on those statements, especially in conjunction with this new reporting from James O'Keefe, seems a little bit suspect. It seems like Pam Bondi wasn't as concerned about James Comer's comments, but more concerned on getting out in front of this bombshell from O'Keefe Media Group. Listen to this.
Yesterday, Attorney General of the United States Pam Bondi was at the White House and disclosed what she represented as brand new information in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. The existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, this is the first time an official has publicly acknowledged that videos of Epstein and his victims exist. What you may not know is just 9 days prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been.
Okay.
So.
Any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken about the, quote, mountain of evidence in the Epstein case. But they've never, previous to that moment, acknowledged on the existence of videos of, quote, little kids.
No, but we all knew the videos were there, right? Like that's been baked into the cake with the Epstein stuff since day one. We knew that the island, the Little St. James, every room was wired for audio and video. We understand the same thing to be true with his New York residence and his New Mexico residence. So this isn't as shocking, but the shocking part is that she acknowledged it to a stranger. I mean, well, there's a few shocking levels. Okay, so. For starters, why is our Attorney General leaking that kind of information to someone that she barely knows? It came to be discovered that this person was a quote-unquote nanny. That's how that relationship was formed, somehow. And she's now revealing this information at a lunch with, again, an individual that she barely knows. And then when the word gets back to them that this investigation took place, she's on hidden camera. She makes it a point to get in front of the cameras to say publicly what she had been recorded saying privately. Seems a little sketchy, doesn't it? And then another wrinkle to this entire thing is that James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group are keeping an eye, I guess you could say, on certain Trump administration officials. It's a lot to unpack here. James O'Keefe has more.
Just a few days later, at 2 p.m. on May 1st, our reporter sent the AG's office the text of the recording. We asked why this detail had not been disclosed to the public, but was instead being told to a random stranger at a restaurant. The Attorney General used almost the exact same language as she did with the stranger in the restaurant, language that we shared with her press office.
There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now,
you can absolutely make the argument that she knew that this undercover investigation was going to come out, and she made the point to get in front of the cameras and get in front of this reporting. That's what Pam Bondi did yesterday. That's what those comments were about. They had very little to do with Comer and a lot more to do with this undercover reporting from O'Keefe Media Group. Now, I know a guy that works for James, and I'm not gonna put him on blast, but I reached out and I said, "Yo, can we get James on?" And he said, "Not right now. James is not doing any media right now because they have another big report dropping next week." That's all he gave me. That's all he gave me. But he said that O'Keefe Media Group has something else coming down the pipeline. And once James starts doing media, I do think we're going to be able to get him on the show and be able to ask some questions. But they say they have another massive story coming next week. So just to recap, they had the advisor, the crisis advisor to Prince Andrew on hidden camera, saying that Prince Andrew did, in fact, have sexual relations with underage girls. The second report, they have Pam Bondi undercover, talking to a complete stranger, saying that they have tens of thousands of videos of individuals engaged in activities with little children via the Epstein files. And there should be a third report coming next week. But Pam Bondi with her comments yesterday, she was trying to get out in front of this.
Now, we hesitated to publish this story, but believe, like we did yesterday, that the public has a right to know. And this one raises serious questions. On one hand, why did our country's highest law enforcement official share this information first, not with the American people?
Thank you.
Yesterday, Attorney General of the United States.
Why did she share it not with the American people,
Pam,
but with a total stranger?
Does this show that a government apparatus is still working behind the scenes to protect powerful people involved in the scandal? Based upon the response to our Epstein story yesterday, it's clear that the American people want answers, and they want accountability.
Well, shout out to O'Keefe Media Group, James O'Keefe, and the staff that he has working over there. I'm be honest with you, I'm so impressed that they're not just targeting liberals, Biden administration officials, that they're going through a full scope of investigations, because that very well could have turned up fruitless going in to record Pam Bondi. But I mean, they got some goods. They got some goods. I'm excited to see where this reporting goes next. And I'm excited to see what the response is going to be from the Trump DOJ. Are they going to be pissed? Are they going to go after James O'Keefe with charges? How are they going to respond to this? It seems like they had a pre-response with Pam Bondi in those comments trying to get in front of it. But I wonder, now that it's out, what they're going to say about it. Or do they just ignore? It's going to be interesting to watch. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
How President Trump is changing up the game ahead of the China talks this weekend, and why rideshare is going to be your friend this weekend. Those stories coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Got a text here on the line from 1586, and he said, hearing you say like and subscribe makes me want to punch the radio. Understood, 1586. I just got kids to feed and kids to send to camp, but I get it. I won't say it anymore. Mason, what should they do for our YouTube channel?
I think they should like and subscribe.
I bet. Sorry.
Who didn't know that was coming?
Sorry, 1586. I get it, man. I get it.
Chris didn't say it.
James O'Keefe and Pam Bondi weren't the only ones talking about Epstein yesterday. Did you hear this exchange? There was a hearing going on. Kash Patel, Senator John Kennedy, and Kennedy asked Patel the question we all pretty much know the answer to: did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself?
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself, or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When you think you'll have it done, Cash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
I wouldn't hold your breath, Senator. How old is Senator Kennedy? He's no spring chicken. I hate to break it to him. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe. I don't even have faith it's going to happen before I die. I feel like we're going to be dealing with like a JFK kind of situation where my kids will be like, oh, we're finally getting it. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And then they'll release it and be like, we already saw all this stuff.
Yeah, it was digitally processed into my brain already. I don't have to. Yeah, John Kennedy is 73.
Oh, he's definitely dying before this info comes out.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. It's a bummer.
Harsh.
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's his answer. You'll get the info. We're looking at it. You'll don't worry. Don't worry, you'll get it. I do know the FBI has been busy, and as much as I'm frustrated at Pam Bondi, I'm less and less frustrated with Kash Patel. Yesterday it was announced that the FBI busted 200 child predators nationwide, and for that we say thank you. This story is from the Post Millennial. Over 200 alleged child predators have been arrested during a 5-day operation carried out by the FBI as well as multiple federal agencies. The arrests centered on suspected predators who have been in contact with minors online. As we head towards summer, parents need to safeguard their kids online. We're going to be trying to have a lot more conversations about this as we get closer to summer, but those predators are out there, and huge kudos to the FBI for taking a few hundred of them off the street. That's probably small potatoes compared to what's out there, unfortunately. So this effort needs to continue.
You want to hear how NBC is covering Kash Patel?
Yes.
Ready for this?
Yes.
The headline: Kash Patel's new way of leading the FBI. Fewer morning intel briefings, more pro sports events. Yeah.
Nice.
His approach to his new job has raised concerns that he's not taking the position seriously enough. According to current and former officials, they're not named, but they're there.
Anonymous sources say anonymous things. 200 child predators off the street. This guy's not taking his job serious.
I don't think he's doing sports events if he's that busy.
No, unless he's showing up to bust a pedo. That's probably the only time he would go to a sports event.
Sorry, say that again one more time.
Bust a pedo. It's going to be a theme throughout the show today.
For real.
For whatever reason, this is on the menu, boys. 9:31 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got a shift in tone from President Trump days ago, saying that he would not pull back tariffs in order to have substantive trade negotiations with China. But now he's signaling in a social media post that he is willing to lower tariffs to 80%. That's happening ahead of the scheduled talks overseas.
It comes to those meetings between Chinese and U.S. officials in Switzerland this weekend. U.S. officials have said that this is more about de-escalating tensions. It's not about coming to some grand trade deal, but they do say that this de-escalation is necessary to move this process forward.
ABC News correspondent Selena Wang reporting there from Washington. The nation is about to get a whole new traffic control system. President Trump saying the current system is buckling under the weight of more than 1 billion flying passengers a year.
I'm thrilled to announce the complete rebuilding and modernization of America's air traffic control system, and that's what we're doing, and we're going to make it the best.
Changes will include replacing the telecommunications with fiber, wireless, and satellite technology, replacing old radars and towers, and building 6 new air traffic control centers. Well, this is one of those weekends that's packed with so many events in Nashville. It could lead to a lot of traffic backups. We've got the Savannah Bananas in town because they're taking on the Party Animals at Nissan Stadium. Also, the Shinedown concert, that's at Bridgestone Arena. The Iroquois steeplechase is here. NDOT says it's best to use rideshare, public transit, or even scooters and bikes to get around. Now, if you ride on Lime, Spin, or Bird, you can use the code NDOT Special Events on Saturday to get a one-time free 10-minute ride on any e-bike or scooter. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
37 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Love those guys. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. We're live, Super Talk TV. You can watch the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Why would you want to watch a radio show? We have video for all the audio that you hear on the radio, just a little added bonus. Plus, we're always condensing the show into more digestible sized segments, so that way you can find them. If you only got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's easy to do as opposed to the whole 3-hour show that's over on the YouTube page. And then you can catch up with anything you missed over the weekend. Appreciate it when you do. Hit like and subscribe. There's a lot to get to today. The Trump economy be booming, man. Have you noticed? Have you noticed it's booming? Prices going down. CNBC putting this out earlier today. You got gasoline down by 10.3%. You got tomatoes down 8%. Lettuce down 5%. TVs, cars, truck rental down 9%. Dishes, flatware down 11%. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And the deals are just starting to get signed, man. MSNBC yesterday, so we were covering all that live. So I didn't catch Morning Joe. Like I usually love me some Morning Joe. Who doesn't? It's hard to wake up and start your day right without these guys. So I missed it yesterday. We were busy. And then I caught it last night. These guys were so glum reporting on Trump and the UK trade deal. It's like, it was like somebody shot their dog. That's the only, like, they're just, so the deal's going to happen. And the Republicans are going to frame it as a win. And they're very, very upset. Very, very sad.
You look for what's most likely. Most likely those trade deals are going to come from leaders that he's more comfortable with. And he certainly, again, says he's very comfortable with Keir Starmer.
Yeah, no question there. For President Trump, diplomacy is very personal. I mean, there's the degree of that for most presidents, but this one in particular, it's really whether or not he likes you. We know there have been foreign leaders he very much did not like. He did not care for Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada. But this is going to be a political win for the White House.
Yeah, obviously, it's a huge win for the White House. Very glum. Very disappointed. You're already also seeing a lot of the media spinning this in such a way that is just, it's pure copium, if you will. They need to cope while they seethe, and so this is what they do. MSNBC said, this trade deal, this was low-hanging fruit.
This is relatively low-hanging fruit. If you can't get a trade deal with the longest-standing and loyalist United States ally anywhere in the world over generations, you're going to be in trouble.
Oh, it's low-hanging fruit. If you can't do that, you're going to be in trouble. You know, the funny thing is that we had a president who told the UK that you guys are going to be at the back of the line, the back of the queue, if you will, when it comes to trade deals. So this isn't just about low-hanging fruit. This is about correcting the wrongs with an ally that's been with us for a while. Because, again, Barack Obama, when they voted for Brexit, He told the British people, this is right before they voted to leave the European Union. He said, if you do that, you're going to be at the back of the queue.
Maybe some point down the line, there might be a UK-U.S. trade agreement, but it's not going to happen anytime soon because our focus is in negotiating with a big bloc, the European Union, to get a trade agreement done. And UK is going to be in the back of the queue.
The back of the queue, which pissed off every British person known to man because they understand that Americans don't use the word queue. We say line. So they thought that this was pandering and that Barack Obama was just kind of being a jerk. They were right. And now Trump is in office, and when it comes to negotiating these trade deals, no, you're not the back of the queue whatsoever. You guys are the front of the line. So with that context, I started doing a dive last night, and I was like, what do the Brits think about all this? You know, I'm a little bit curious. Because why not? You know, I'm listening to conservative media and I'm listening to leftist mainstream media propaganda. And I just thought to myself, what do the Brits think? And I'll tell you what, leading Britain's conversation, LBC, this is their conservative talk radio in Britain. And I say conservative with air quotes because it's not the same. It's just, this is not American conservatism whatsoever. But take that to say this is what they're talking about when it comes to the trade deal. The Brits were very upset with Keir Starmer saying Donald so many times. In fact, LBC put out a Donald counter when it comes to that phone call that they had.
Thank you, Mr. President. Donald, can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well? As you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt. And Donald, I think, as you know, Donald, and in the end it comes down to, as you say, Donald, I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald. So thank you so much. Donald.
Thanks, Donald. We'll speak again soon.
That was 9 Donalds, if you're keeping score at home. And the Brits were very disappointed. In fact, one guy called into leading Britain's conversation. Again, this is their conservative talk radio in Britain, which is, I feel like it would be similar to NPR in the States, but this is their conservative talk radio in Britain. One guy was so upset that Keir Starmer kept calling Trump Donald that he wanted to let the people know that this was bootlicking.
The number of times that President Trump was referred to as Donald, I found it to be shameful. It was bootlicking. Great tributes paid by Keir Starmer to Donald Trump's leadership. Keir Starmer. I mean, as I said to your producer, Tom, Churchill had to go almost begging, I think, to Roosevelt for 50 destroyers to fight the Nazis, but he was there to fight. And
well, that says more, Paul. I'm sorry, but that says more about the Americans than it does about us, I'm afraid, back in the day, that they wouldn't provide us with those 50 destroyers without the British Prime Minister begging, even as this country was dealing with an existential threat. The fact that Keir Starmer, and I'm telling you, Paul, from some experience, again, was on the phone calls between the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and Theresa May, they call each other by their first names. Donald Trump appreciates the notion that they are his friend. So calling him by his first name is probably not a bad thing.
Yeah, but the audience was making it seem like he was sucking up. Keir Starmer was sucking up to Trump and bootlicking, and they weren't very happy about it. But hey, that's okay. I'll be, just for full transparency, the hosts over on LBC and a lot of like the media talking heads were actually very complimentary over the trade deal, and they think that it's going to be good for both England and America. I tend to think the same thing. And when you look at American exports, it's going to be huge. Now, Donald Trump was talking about our agriculture exports, and he said, we're gonna follow RFK's lead, and we're gonna take out this and that, talking about the chemicals and the hormones and chlorinating the chicken and things of that nature, so that way we can get access to those British markets. But this is going to be huge for American producers.
Expanding this market for my beef producers is a game changer. I'm really excited about this opportunity.
That's Troy Downing. He's a Republican out of Montana, congressman, saying, guys, this is going to be huge.
And it really shows you everything that the White House has been saying, everything that President Trump has been saying about getting our allies, our trading partners to the table to actually work out fair deals that are good for the United States of America. That's what he set out to do. That's exactly what's happening. And I got to tell you, for my district, for Montana, we're really excited about this. And not just on the agricultural side, but having a friendly partner on the steel and aluminum side. I think that's a game changer in terms of national security as well as markets. So we're pretty excited about it, and happy to be in London as this is happening.
Yeah, everybody's excited. It's going to be good. Jamison Greer was talking about the framework that was used to create this trade deal and how that is going to be used in future trade deals that are currently being negotiated. And we know there's going to be some more trade deals negotiated over the weekend. We're going to have some negotiations with China. We do have some updates from the president on that as well. But first, we're just kind of focusing on the UK here. But the framework of the UK deal is going to be the framework that we're going to be seeing repeated a lot. At least that's according to Jamison Greer. He was speaking with CNBC yesterday, and he outlined that.
Brian, great to be with you. And I can't really overstate the importance of this deal. The United Kingdom is the 6th largest economy in the world. They have an economy that's similar to ours in terms of development and rule of law and governance, et cetera. And so this is exactly the type of deal that we should be making. The UK did a pretty, bold thing a few years ago when they did Brexit. And part of the reason they did it is so they could have more control over their trade policy, separate from Europe. And we're seeing that today. They've agreed to open up their markets to our agricultural products, to our industrial goods, and importantly, to align with us on economic security. To your question, what does this mean for other countries? Is this a framework? this certainly is the framework. I've been talking to dozens of countries, and I tell them this. I walk through different buckets where we need to talk about tariffs, non-tariff barriers, economic security, etc. And this is the right framework, and other countries should look to this as a model.
Look to this deal because this is how it's going to look with a lot of other countries as well, at least according to U.S. Trade Rep Jamison Greer. And I'm here for it. The more negotiations that we can get done, the better the country is going to be. And we're going to see the positive ripple effects from this. Now, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said you really need to pay attention to what's happening here. Because when you dig into the numbers, what this is going to do for our GDP in conjunction with the other moves that Donald Trump is making has been completely understated by the media, and it's going to create massive GDP growth for the United States. This is Howard Lutnick,
the trade minister of Indonesia, and he says we're the largest car manufacturer in the world. And you'd say, really? Indonesia? He says, yes, we make Matchbox cars. Right? So, that's funny. So what do we want? We want a low tariff on those kind of products, right? And a higher tariff on products that make a difference to us, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, things that matter that we want to reshore. We want to do that smart. I think you saw a lot of smart in today's deal. And I think what you're going to see is Donald Trump is going to deliver incredibly smart, thoughtful, and rigorous trade deals that are going to be great for America. Remember, if we have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit and we cut that 25%, only 25%, that means we export another $300 billion. That's 1 point of GDP produced by the guy who sits behind me in that White House. 1 point of GDP just by him. And then if you start building those factories that he's talked about, that's another 2 points of GDP. That's 3 points a year driven by the guy in the Oval Office. Is pretty cool.
Yeah, listen, this is the plan, and the plan is being executed. It's going to take some time. Nothing's going to happen overnight, but these countries are coming to the table to negotiate, and Donald Trump has a vision. I'm here for it. I know you are too. We have to stay patient. Will there be some short-term pain? Yeah, there still could be. But I have a feeling that come July, come August, we're going to be like, yep, Trump was right again. And it seemed like the markets were reacting pretty positively the last time I checked. But you never know with the markets. They're up, they're down. That's what markets do. J.D. Vance talking about reaching a trade deal with the United Kingdom. And he said that it was a good negotiation and it's going to benefit pretty much every player that came to the table. This is J.D. Vance last night, Fox News.
I think we have a great relationship with the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister visited a few weeks ago. We had very good conversations with them. I think they were very responsive. I mean, look, President Trump has said very simply, all he wants at a lot of these trade negotiations is fairness, is reciprocity. He wants other markets to be as fair to American workers, frankly, as America has been to these foreign workers for decades, in some cases generations. And the United Kingdom was very willing to work with us. I think we had a great rapport with them. They were very open to hearing our concerns, and of course we heard some of their issues too. It was a good conversation. It was a good negotiation. It led to a successful result.
It led to a successful result, and that's all we can really ask for, that these negotiations, while they may be tense, that they help the United States and they help the American people. And I think that that's Donald Trump's guiding light. That's his focus. And I think we're seeing the results. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. J.D. Vance had a lot more to say about other countries that need to come to the table, including China. Plus, Donald Trump had some messages for China this morning ahead of the negotiations in Switzerland this weekend. We'll cover all that and more on the way. 9:51, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Up ahead here on Super Talk 99.7, President Trump's big pivot ahead of his weekend trade talks with China. Also, this.
The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
Yeah, why you better keep your eye on the sky this weekend. Those stories coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 9:57, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Don't forget my friend Bo Diddle and Gabe. They're going to be in here at 11:05. They have quite a few stories that are pretty fun, and they're going to make you angry and confused. It's the best tease I could do.
It fits.
It does. It really does. You'll understand why. If you heard us talking about it earlier, you get it. But if you didn't, come 11:05, that description will make total sense. Fun stories that leave you angry and confused with our friend Bo Diddle. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it any better. J.D. Vance giving a fantastic interview last night to Fox News. And he was asked about, the UK trade deal. He's like, man, it was great for everybody. But then they started asking him, well, what comes next? And as we all know, we have negotiations this weekend in Switzerland with China. So that was the topic of conversation last night with Fox News.
So with China, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has said that, he doesn't want to decouple. He just wants fair trade. But when you look at China and the trust issues, they're our biggest adversary. How can they be our biggest trading partner at the same time?
Well, first of all, what the president has said is clearly we need to rebalance global trade. American workers and American businesses have lost a lot by absorbing all of this trade from other countries when these countries don't take nearly as much from America as we take from them. That's a fundamentally losing proposition, and we're going to change it. And of course, China has been the worst offender. But I think, look, what has happened right now, the last couple of months, is basically trade between China and the United States has stopped completely. Yep. The president has been very clear. He thinks that we have the cards, of course, because we take much more from China than China does from us. But we're going to have a conversation with them. We'll see where it leads. And ultimately, we just want to deal with any country, whether it's China or anybody else, that makes American workers and American businesses in a better position. We just want a fairer deal for American workers, and that's what President Trump is fighting for. I think that it's very achievable with a whole host of countries, but that's the guiding light.
That's the guiding light. It's got to be fair, and it's got to be fair for American workers, says J.D. Vance. Now, Donald Trump, he posted some messages on Truth Social this morning ahead of these Chinese negotiations in Switzerland. And a lot of people are saying, oh, Trump bent the knee. Trump's asking for more than what was being floated. Ooh, oh no. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'll bring you the comments from Trump. I'll bring you the reactions from the left. And then I'll give you the reality of the situation when we return. It's 10 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Keep in mind that Vanderbilt's commencement ceremonies begin at 11 o'clock for many of the schools and on many different parts of the campus. So it may be a great place to avoid at this hour and all through the afternoon as well. U.S. trade talks get underway with China this weekend, and we're learning this morning that President Trump may be backing off that 145% tariff. Just this morning, he said on his Truth Social account that an 80% tariff on China seems right, going on to say it's up to Scott B., meaning, of course, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Those talks take place in Switzerland this weekend. The Department of Justice has opened a criminal investigation into New York Attorney General Letitia James. Fox News reporting that a grand jury impaneled in the Eastern District of Virginia sending out subpoenas now looking for information about a single-family home in Virginia that she claimed as her primary residence to obtain a better interest rate, even though she obviously lives in New York. Antioch High School yesterday, the new weapons detection system did its job. WSMV4's Dryden Quigley.
Today, it caught an 18-year-old who was going into school with a pistol in his backpack. Staff took the weapon without any issues, and police arrested the student.
That student telling police that he carries it at his after-school job and forgot to take it out of his backpack, but police say that gun had been stolen last year. That's students being charged with carrying it to school and stealing it. Keeping the tally of ICE traffic stops. The total is now 468 traffic stops, no additional detentions. THP saying they have detained at least one Tren de Aragua gang member. We learned that yesterday. But now also an MS-13 gang member who had been wanted for murder out of El Salvador. And it's Chicken Little weekend around here. A spacecraft that the Soviets launched more than 50 years ago is about to come crashing down to Earth over the weekend. Here's ABC's Matthew Glaser with more.
In March of 1972, the Soviet Union launched Cosmos 482, a probe that was supposed to land on Venus. But a technical problem prevented it from escaping Earth's orbit. And in the decades since, the orbit of Cosmos 42 has been slowly decaying. Now it's headed back to Earth, and there's concern that it could come crashing down in one big piece, since it was built to survive Venus's harsh atmosphere and environment. The lander will likely splash down in the ocean. This will be more like a meteorite hitting the Earth, which happens quite frequently and rarely causes any harm.
NASA says that lander weighs about 1,100 pounds. That is the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. I got a text here at 9:58. 8652 sent it in. Are you doing updates from the White House lawn today? We did that yesterday. Ooh. See, it's like we decided to sign Monica on for every Friday. And then she had a bachelorette party. And then it was Good Friday. And now today she's off. She's going to get married.
Yeah.
So I think we've only had we signed her on to do every Friday. And we've only actually made one Friday in like 6 weeks. And so I'm sure at a certain point, this is all going to balance out.
Yeah, eventually.
We'll
do a couple Saturdays just to throw it.
Yeah. But if you missed our conversation with Monica Page yesterday, it was awesome. She's the best. It's up on the YouTube page.
Yeah, it should be
down.
on today at 1 o'clock.
Yep. So it'll be there for you, a White House weekly wrap-up with Monica Page. But, Monica. We love Monica.
She's great.
At a certain point, it will be every Friday.
That's the goal.
I'm pretty sure.
It's the goal.
Or it's even funnier. We'll just say it's every Friday and then never do Friday.
Do it every other day of the week.
Yeah, any other day except for Friday. So no, Monica did yesterday this time. We love Monica. And Monica, if you're listening, because I know she loves the show. She loves the show.
Die-hard fan.
She's probably listening. Congratulations on getting married. I'm just going to wait for the text for a second because there's a little delay. There'll be a text, I'm sure. I'm sure. So Donald Trump earlier this morning hit True Social. He had some messages about China, if you will, and he has some ideas on what we should do when it comes to the tariffs. So he said China should open up its market to the USA. Would be so good for them. Closed markets don't work anymore. 80% tariff on China seems right. Up to Scott B. It's up to Scott. It's up to Scotty B. Mr. Besant, the most popular man in the Trump administration. 80% tariff. So Bloomberg, they saw that Truth Social post and they said, "Oh no, that's not what we were talking about, Mr. Trump. We were talking about 60% tariffs. That 80% that's way too low.
We're going into talks.
Too high.
With the US and China this weekend in Switzerland. Tariffs are around 150%. The president says this: 80% tariff on China seems right. It's up to Scott B. Scott B being the Treasury Secretary, Scott Besson. Here's the reaction to it in the markets. Equity futures just coming off session highs, rolling over, still positive by 0.1%. Think about the context for this. The reporting going into the weekend suggesting that maybe tariffs would drop below 60%. The president suggesting going into talks, it could be around 80.
So higher than what the market was expecting.
So they're upset. They're upset because they said the tariffs were supposed to. We heard rumors that the tariffs were going to end up being set around 60. And I saw this and I'm like, do they not have any idea how to negotiate whatsoever? And I realize that some people just don't. But like, you always ask for more than what you want. Like always. Like I've done a lot of negotiating. I've talked to a lot of people who are doing their own negotiating because, I don't know, people just ask me for advice sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know, why are you asking me? But my advice is always the same. What do you want to get paid? And then they'll say, oh, I want, $85K. And I'll say, perfect, go in and ask for 95. And they'll say, why? Why would I do that? It's like, because they're going to talk you down. The goal is that they're going to talk you down and then you land at exactly where you wanted to be anyway. So if you wanted 60% tariffs to be the bar, going in and saying we want 80%, that's smart business. I don't understand. Like, is it just Orange Man bad? So anything Trump does, we have to look at it in the most negative light whatsoever, and we can't think about any kind of theory or strategy behind statements that Trump is putting out. I guess not for Bloomberg. I think anytime you look at a Donald Trump statement, you should really look at it through the lens of, is there a strategy or a theory behind this? Or is he just, sometimes he's just pumping them out 2 a.m. You never know. But sometimes I do think that there's strategy and there's theory behind it. So Trump said 80%, it's up to Scott B. So in one fell swoop, if they did want it set at 60, he is now made it so that way that America could be talked down, right? And the other country we're negotiating with, China in this case, would feel better about it. And at the exact same time, he empowered Scott Besant, saying, it's not even on me, you're going to have to talk to Scott. It's up to Scott B.
Yes, the negotiator.
Okay. That's a new one. That's a new one.
Sorry, I'm loving my Star Wars quotes recently.
That's a Star Wars quote?
Yeah.
What one's that from?
It's General Grievous in the 3rd movie. The Jedis are coming to take over his ship. He calls them negotiators. I thought it fit Mr. Scott Besant there.
It fits. It fits. I'm torn on Star Wars hotkeys.
That's fair. I that's off YouTube. I haven't put it in yet.
Oh, you had that ready to go?
Dude, I'm on fire today.
Beast. This guy is a beast. JD Vance was talking about Fox News saying, listen, what we're seeing with Trump, it's pretty good. And the funny part is that Trump is just being honest with the American people. And this is something that we didn't have under Joe Biden, clearly.
But I guess the question goes back to how much pain, or how do you explain to the American people, look, this is the goal. We think it's a good goal for the country. But getting there, you have the Fed saying, we're not going to cut interest rates at this point, which the president said, he called Jerome Powell a fool on Truth Social last night.
Yeah, well, he is. Let's be perfectly honest. The economy is moving in the right direction. Even the Bank of England has now cut their interest rates. Jerome Powell is way late to the game. I talk about cognitive decline. I want to hear from Jerome Powell. Is he suffering from some cognitive decline? Does he not see what's going on in the Trump economy? Probably not. But anyway, JD Vance talking about what Trump is saying to the American people. He says the goal is you just got to be honest, and Trump has been honest
for that assessment. But Powell is saying we need to make sure that unemployment doesn't go higher and that inflation doesn't go higher, and he's still concerned about those two things. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, I think the president's right about Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, he's a nice guy, but he's been wrong about almost everything. He was way too late in combating the Biden inflation, and now I think he's way too late in actually helping us fight back against some of these ridiculous trade deals that have stolen the wealth of the American people. And so I think Jerome Powell's just wrong about that. But when you ask this question about pain, look, the real pain here, Martha, is that we inherited an economy that had the highest peacetime deficits in United States history.
Yep.
We had $34 trillion in debt and growing under Joe Biden's economy. And the president has been very honest with the American people. You don't get back to peace and prosperity by doing the same thing that you've done under the Biden administration, or frankly that we've done in this country for 40 years. We've got to take this country in a different direction. We've got to renegotiate some of these trade deals. We've got to open up foreign markets to American-made things, and we've got to make our country more self-reliant.
He's right. This is what they're doing. They're rebuilding the economy from the ground up. And I said this a couple weeks ago. I said at a certain point, you're going to know the tide is turning when the Democrats are going to, they're not going to be able to argue with the reality of the situation. So they're going to say it's Joe Biden's policies that are giving Trump a good economy. What you're seeing is a ripple effect from Joe Biden. And didn't I said this, what was it last week? I made the statement. I said pretty soon the Democrats are going to be saying all the good stuff that's happening isn't because of Trump. It's because of Joe Biden. And Dan Goldman, he had a one-on-one on NBC with Kristen Welker, and he's the first one to say it, that the good stuff that you're seeing has nothing to do with Trump. What we're witnessing is ripple effects from Joe Biden.
Well, look, I am a great admirer of President Biden. I think he will ultimately go down as one of the most consequential presidents because of all of the legislation he was able to pass in his first 2 years and the incredible work he did on the international stage on his second 2 years. As some of the other seminal legislation is actually implemented, Americans are going to benefit from it. You can be sure that Donald Trump will take full credit for it, but it was Joe Biden's vision and his desire to do the right thing rather than the politically expedient thing.
Oh, yeah, you knew this was coming, right? You knew this was coming. Hey, did you hear Audi is moving manufacturing to the U.S. and it's because of Joe Biden's policies? Yeah, sure. But this is actually a big deal, and it does have to do with the economy, and it does have to do with the Trump tariffs, and it does have to do with this new America First attitude that we have had since January 20th. The world's second largest car maker is moving its manufacturing to the U.S., and this is huge. Second largest car maker in the world, relocating the manufacturing of its luxury brand to the United States after President Trump has been encouraging car companies to do business in the U.S. This story is from the Post-Millennial. Volkswagen Group, second largest manufacturer in the world, will be joining a number of car manufacturers in moving production to the United States for the German automaker's luxury brand Audi, per the Daily Mail. A spokesperson for the company said to the outlet, we want to localize more strongly in the USA. To this end, we're currently examining various scenarios, and we're confident we will make a decision on this consultation with the Volkswagen Group before the end of this year as to what it will look like in concrete terms. During a recent earnings call for Audi, CFO for the brand, Joren Rittersberger, said that the car company is planning on creating 10 new models in the U.S. and locations for production will be made public next year. There are about 3 locations where Audi has scouted for production, according to a report from Automobile Whoosh. One location primarily being considered, maybe you've heard of it, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Have you heard of it? It's one of the locations, and this would be massive. It's not just the construction jobs building the manufacturing. It's not just the manufacturing jobs there also, but it's what sprouts up around the auto manufacturing plant, right? It's going to be the restaurants, it's going to be the coffee shops, it's going to be the gas stations. Now do that times all the other factories that are being built in the U.S. And you're going to start to see a clearer picture for how this economy is starting to grow under Trump. You have all these companies coming in, and the ripple effect hasn't even been felt yet. Now, they say the move appears to be a response to Trump's tariff policies, and it's like, yep. It doesn't appear to be. It absolutely is. How could you make any other how could you make any other case that it's for any other reason than the tariffs? And what did Donald Trump say about the tariffs? It's going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. It's already working. And we saw it work on other car companies as well. We saw Stellantis and Hyundai. They're moving production to the U.S. And other companies as well as countries similarly investing in the United States as ever since Trump took the White House, and this, again, on the heels of that massive trade deal with the U.K. yesterday. So we're seeing good indications that this economy is going to be growing, if not booming, very, very soon. I think it's going to become the summer. We're really going to be like, wow, that happened quick. That's my own personal guess, and it's nothing more than a guess. But I do think come July, August, we're going to look left, we're going to look right, and we're going to be like, yep, this is exactly what we voted for. Trump reshaping the economy and putting the American people first. It's a wild idea. Hasn't been done in decades, but Donald Trump is the only president with enough spine to try it, and for that, we thank him. And again, we're going to watch this roll out in real time. The big news that's going to be happening over the weekend are those negotiations with China inside Switzerland, and we'll be paying attention, waiting, edge of our seat to see what comes out of that. I don't expect a trade deal just yet, but you do expect some de-escalation, which is a step in the right direction. We got a lot more to cover on the way. Kristi Noem, she was at what were they doing? They were doing some hearing. She was sitting down for a hearing yesterday, and she was being questioned by none other than Senator Chris Van Hollen, the guy that looks out for the Maryland man. And she had some things to say about the Maryland man, Kristi Noem did, and she had some things to say to Senator Van Hollen. Got pretty wild. We'll bring you all the highlights of that when we return. It is 10:21, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand, and I got to tell you about one of my favorite days of the year that is coming up at one of my favorite places in Nashville. It's the Glock Store's 5th annual open house, Saturday, May 31st. They do it every year. They throw open the doors. They roll out the red carpet for Nashville. Raffles, deals, full auto fun. This party is going to be a banger, and this year the raffles nonstop all day long, and we're talking custom Glock handgun giveaways. Yep, you could win one for free just by showing up. You could also win some premium gear and more. And even if you don't win a raffle, you're going to be winning all day long at the Glock store because the deals are insane. You need ammo? Of course you do. Who doesn't? We always need a little bit more ammo. And the deals on ammo are wild. Check out the Burrow Bullets Blowout. 1,000-round tac packs of 9mm and .223 packed in custom ammo boxes. You're not going to believe the prices. And maybe you want to shoot some of that ammo that you buy there. Well, they're bringing out the full auto rental rifles again, so you can really run through some ammo. 9mm, 5.56. These full auto guns are so much fun. I've done it. It's awesome. You're going to want to do it too. Mark it down. Saturday, May 31st, the 5th annual Glock Store Open House. Minutes from the airport. Worth the drive from anywhere. You don't want to miss it.
It's happened again, a communications blackout at one of the nation's busiest airports, and President Trump's firing spree continues. That and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom, dust-encrusted news closet, if you will. My name is Chris Hand. Mason Fleming is producing, and the show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. Why would you need a water filtration system, you might ask?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
It's a good point. BetterWater.com. It's funny again. It stopped being funny for a while. That clip, man. It gets funny, and then it gets not funny. And then you give it a couple days, and you're like, yeah, it's still funny.
Yeah,
it's still pretty good.
You can't be mad at Alex Jones.
And for the record, when Better Water came on, they said, we want to sponsor the show. I said, have you ever heard this Alex Jones clip? And they said, no. And I said, do you think this is funny? They said, we think this is funny. I said, can I use that? They said, by all means. So I'm like, this is what I love about the sponsors of this show. So shout out to our friends at Better Water, betterwater.com. We got a lot to cover and not a lot of time because coming up at 11:05, my friend Bo Diddle and his incredible cameraman, producer extraordinaire, Gabe, they're going to be in studio for one of the most fun, confusing, and infuriating stories you may ever hear. Actually, two of them. Three of them.
Ooh.
3 of them.
I thought it was just one.
Nope. Nope.
3 for the price of 1?
3 for the price of 1.
Ooh.
And
you know what it cost you?
Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
I wonder if, I think Bo was at the protest where Antifa, there was a Riley Gaines event. This happened a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And Antifa was there, and they were throwing feces at people showing up for the event.
What?
Yeah, I think Bo was there. I actually was talking to Riley Gaines about that last night. She had an event at Grace Baptist Church in Nashville. And I said to her, sorry it's raining, but at least it's not feces.
Yeah.
And she says, that's a good point. That's a good point. Riley Gaines is one of the best, by the way. Just such a sweetheart. So we're going to have Bo in here in a little bit, and we're going to talk about quite a few stories. I will give you a teaser on one of them. Should I do the teaser on it again? Okay, so there was a guy at an LGBTQIA2+ spirit animal and or Smurf protest, and they were very upset at Bo for being there and asking questions. So this guy had a megaphone and just screamed into Bo's ear, "You're a Nazi, you're a Nazi, F you, you're a Nazi." And we just found out yesterday that the guy that was caught on video with a megaphone screaming into Bo's ear that he's a Nazi, well, it turns out he's a pedo and was just busted for that. You can't make this stuff up. Those who scream the loudest often have the most to hide. We're going to talk to Bo Diddle about all of that on the way. But first, Kristi Noem, man, she was sitting down yesterday. They were having this big hearing. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia came up. Now, Secretary Noem said, "I'm sorry to all of you radical, leftist, communists. There's no way Kilmar Abrego Garcia is ever coming back to America."
Facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's release.
Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador and should never have been in this country and will not be coming back to this country. There is no scenario where Abrego Garcia will be in the United States again. If he were to come back, we would immediately deport him again because he is a terrorist, he's a human smuggler, and he is a wife beater.
She's just a beast. It's like Kristi Noem. So that was during a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Homeland Security hearing yesterday. Kristi Noem versus Senator Chris Murphy there, who, I don't know, do you see he's sporting a beard now? Senator Chris Murphy is?
Yeah, I noticed.
And it doesn't look very healthy. It's like, it's very patchwork. You notice that?
See, I would throw comments out, but I have no room to talk, so
yeah.
I'll let you stand on that.
No, I think your beard looks better than Chris Murphy's.
Well, shucks.
I'm just being honest, man. I mean, it's not like a huge bar that you hurtled over.
Yeah, fair.
Just, I don't want to big you up too much.
It's not. Yeah.
There was one other exchange from that hearing that you need to hear. It was Kristi Noem versus one Senator Chris Van Hollen. You may remember Van Hollen from certain statements like, "Please send home that Maryland man." This was him versus Kristi Noem yesterday.
Despite what you just said, the federal district court whose judge is hearing this case right now said, and I'm quoting, that the administration has provided no evidence linking Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other terrorist activity. I'm not vouching for the man. I'm vouching for his due process
you are,
rights.
Sir. You've
No,
been vouching for
Madam
him.
Secretary, with
I would
respect.
suggest that you defend and
Madam,
stand alongside the victims
this-
of illegal
this is
crime.
political
in this country,
rhetoric.
the citizens who live here and
Do
are
you-
United States Americans. I would suggest you advocate for them as hard
Madam
as you would do
Secretary,
with foreign terrorists.
I know you're doing a political speech
No,
here.
I'm
I
not,
get it.
sir.
I'm
You have
asking questions of law. No, you're just spewing
I truly
rhetoric.
believe
You're spewing rhetoric, he says the man who flew on the taxpayer dime to El Salvador to rescue a Maryland man and fight for due process. You're just using talking points, says Senator Van Hollen. I like what Kristi Noem said, though. She goes, "I wish you would defend your constituents the same way you defend this Maryland man." Yeah, we all do. It's 1031 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Help cannot come fast enough for New Jersey's Newark Liberty Airport, where air traffic controllers report yet another blackout. ABC transportation reporter Sam Sweeney saying it happened just before 4 o'clock this morning. Air traffic control telling a FedEx plane that their screens have gone black.
Another blackout again, another radar outage again. And then they go on to a private jet, and they say, we just lost our radar. If you can contact us, stay at or above 3,000 feet on your approach into Teterboro. That plane was arriving from Cyprus.
He mentions Teterboro there. That's an airport not far from Newark Liberty. Just yesterday, President Trump announced an accelerated plan to upgrade the nation's air traffic control system. Retired Supreme Court Justice David Souter has died. He was 85 years old, served on the court for nearly 20 years. He was nominated in 1990 by President George H.W. Bush in a move that surprised the media at that time.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the paper chase. Who is Judge David Souter? Where does he stand on the major issues likely to come before the Supreme Court? President Bush's sudden announcement yesterday.
Peter Jennings there, of course. Souter wound up siding with his liberal colleagues in many of the court's highest profile cases, including writing the 2005 ruling that said the display of the Ten Commandments in Kentucky courthouses was unconstitutional, and another decision that shot down a challenge to Roe v. Wade. President Trump has fired the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, after the group called American Accountability Foundation accused her and other library leaders of promoting children's books with radical content. That's the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You hear me say this a lot, but seriously, it's time. It's time to get your system serviced the right way, the Busy Bee way. Get your AC running at maximum peak efficiency before the heat is here, and it's here for good. Don't wait until there's a problem, okay? Because if you're not getting it serviced, you're going to find out the hard way come July, come August, that it wasn't running the way it should. And you don't want to find out in July, in August, in Tennessee, that your AC isn't working. So call Busy Bee today and get that AC service. Now, whether you need annual maintenance, repair, or even full replacement, I always trust the guys over at Busy Bee. And now is the perfect time to join the Beehive Club. Just $99 per unit. You get 3 annual tune-ups, 10% off all repairs, front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive member-only deals. Now, this month, you buy one Beehive Club membership, you get one of equal or lesser value completely free. You can't beat being a Beehive member with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call them today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, online, busybeehvac.com. 37 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Is this supposed to rain tomorrow? Do you know? I heard the weather with Stefano, and then I stopped paying attention.
I think it's posted a little bit here. Hold on. Yeah, I zoned out for a second too.
I did. I didn't mean to.
Tomorrow it's supposed to be cloudy with a little slight chance of rain.
All right, I got a Little League game to go to.
Sunday is supposed to be heavy rain.
So tomorrow, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be live at the Murfreesboro Home Expo, which is happening at the Embassy Suites Hotel on Medical Center Parkway.
Yep.
So we're going to be doing that whole thing. That's going to be from 10 to 12. And then like at 12 on the dot, and this is just in case I'm in conversation with anybody that's listening right now, at 12 on the dot, I am fleeing there as fast as I can to get to the Little League game over at Sportscom because the Mets need me.
Yeah.
And you know what they're going to do? They're going to say, Coach, did everybody like and subscribe like we asked them to? And I don't know. We're going to have to get these likes up if you're going to want me to give the kids the right answer.
Yeah, guys, we got to stay consistent here.
We got to do it.
They've been killing it today, though.
Hey, man,
we'll say
I love the YouTube crowd and the YouTube chat. Shout out to everybody keeping the conversation going. If you want to join the conversation, the text line and the phone lines are open 615-737-9986. All of this is brought to us by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Last night, Fox News they aired a pretty cool interview actually with the new faces of HHS. So we had a gang of characters there. It was Dr. Marty Makary, who I don't know about you. I always, when I see this guy's name written in print, I read it with the Boston accent of a 15-year-old Chris. I'm like, Marty, Dr. Marty. So we got Marty Makary, we have Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and we have Dr. Oz alongside RFK. And Brett Baer is doing this interview, and he's interviewing these guys, and RFK decides to open the interview by letting everybody know how close the four of these individuals are and how different this is than any other HHS we have ever seen before in the past. RFK says these guys are going as far as essentially having sleepovers. These four guys may or may not have had a slumber party together in the past.
Thank you all for being here. Mr. Secretary, this is unique in that you work with all these guys very closely, and it's a different scenario for HHS.
Yeah, I actually had Tommy Thompson in this morning talking to me, who was the HHS who had my job under the Bush administration, and I was talking about my relationship with these gentlemen who are running the agency, running the major sub-agencies of HHS, and he said that nothing like that had ever happened in history. I say that I talk to them typically about 2 or 3 times a day. We're friends. We go to lunch together. We stay at each other's homes. We vacation together.
Nothing like this has ever happened before. This is according to the guy that was in charge of HHS under Bush. And he says, you guys, you like each other a little bit too much. The lunch is one thing. The slumber parties, it's we haven't seen this before, but I like it. I like that they're working so closely together, and I like that they all vibe. When you look at the past leadership of these institutions, I'm not sure how much they vibed. Like, I don't think Fauci and Redfield were hanging out on the weekends. I just don't. And you look at how much they've grown apart since the pandemic, at least on their takes on the pandemic. It's not a shocker, but RFK says all of these guys, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Oz, Dr. Makary, and RFK Jr., they're actually good friends.
And then, we're aligned on, in our vision. Friendship is based upon shared values, and that's the strongest bond that holds people together. And in this, we all share a vision that's been a lifelong vision for all of us, which is to make our country healthy, to have evidence-based science, to have gold standard replicable science, and then use that to challenge what we have, this kind of bedrock system that is destroying our health.
So 4 guys with a mission that is completely aligned, and they actually get along with each other. Then they start going around the room. and they go around the room, and each individual is outlining their agency's goals, okay? And this is just, I love the transparency, and I love the fact that these guys are doing this interview, because I don't recall any real eyeballs on HHS in my entire life since pre-COVID, right? Like after COVID happened, yes, I feel like there was a more alertness to what was going on at these agencies. But before that, and maybe it's just my own bias, and I wasn't noticing, but I don't think the media was concerned with what was happening over at HHS, and I think that that's all changed. So having this interview is huge, but they go around the room and they all start talking about their goals at their own specific agency. First up was Dr. Marty Makary, who is over the FDA.
So we want to focus the agency on cures and meaningful treatments. In the last administration, the number one priority the commissioner stated was fighting misinformation, and the DEI staff ballooned out. We want to focus on cures and meaningful treatments. We believe in the letter and the spirit of right to try. And
he says, we actually want to focus on cures and treatment, where the last administration wanted to focus on misinformation. Now, if you were paying attention to what was happening online during the last administration, you understand that those statements are completely true, that we were being censored and banned or shadow banned, shut down, silenced, called conspiracy theorists, kooks, if you will. We weren't allowed to have any conversations about this because we weren't a doctor. We weren't an expert. But, you know, you get a guy like Bill Gates, who is also not a doctor. He's allowed to talk about his opinions all he wants. What a coincidence. Isn't that strange? So the FDA now isn't as focused on misinformation as it used to be. Now the FDA is actually going to focus on, you know, cures and health, what they should have been focused on.
there's amazing stuff in the pipeline I've seen. We're talking about new treatments for stage 4 cancers, for neurodegenerative disorders, for diabetes that we've never seen before. Why does it take 10 years on average for drugs to come to market? Why are we blaming children for being sick and not looking at our food supply? Why are we thinking it's a willpower problem as we watch half of our nation's children with belly pain or attention deficit disorder or on medications? And can we use common sense and gold standard science both? And that's the charge that we have from Secretary Kennedy.
I'm here for it. Common sense and gold standard science. That's what we need to get back to in this country. And you look at the explosion of chronic disease, inflammation, diabetes. I mean, we can go down the list. Everything's exploding. We do need to get back to common sense and gold standard science. You can make the argument that that's one of the reasons why this country has strayed as far as it has. Up next in this roundtable, Dr. Oz. And Dr. Oz wants to tell everybody about his main priority over at CMS. Now, the way they framed this question was, everybody's talking about how you're going to be making cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and blah. And he says, listen, our main goal here is to our main goal is to put health back in Health and Human Services.
And it gets demagogued all the time, that you're coming after it, that you're going to kill it, that you're going to cut it. What do you say to all that?
Our goal is to put health back in Health and Human Services. And under Secretary Kennedy, and that's why we're all here, we're laser focused on the broader picture, the more holistic picture. In the back of this wonderful theater that we're recording in now, there's a quote from Hubert Humphrey. The building's named after him. He's a Democrat. And he said it's the moral obligation of government to take care of those of us at the very dawn of our lives, children, at the twilight of our life, the elderly, and those living in the shadows. That's our focus. It's quality of care at all levels. And we're working together to make sure that happens. In every single scenario that we're looking at, we're increasing payment in Medicaid, putting more money in the Medicaid. Increasing. So the question is, how do you spend that money so efficiently that you stop throwing money at problems, but actually deal with the broader health needs? Addressing the fundamental reality that 70% of the money that CMS spends, and that's what Medicare, Medicaid, the exchanges, CHIP, 70% of the money we spend is on chronic illness. And we're not getting our money's worth. So for folks listening right now, it's your patriotic duty to be as healthy as you can, and it's our job to help you get there, make it easy to do the right things. At the same time, we've got to make wise decisions because we're stewards who have to protect the money for the population that Hubert Humphrey described.
I'm just a big fan of the fact that they're looking at this saying, can we stop throwing money at problems? Can we look for solutions as opposed to the solution being throwing money at it? 70% of Americans dealing with chronic disease. Is that what I think that's what he said. I might be flubbing the number a little bit, but 70% of what we're spending is going to chronic disease. My error. So we need to focus on what we're doing with the money, and we need to spend the money the right way. Again, this isn't something I've ever heard from HHS, and I don't know if you've heard this from HHS. Maybe you have. I just, this focus on being good stewards to the taxpayer dollar, this focus on actually looking for cures and not wasting money, it's brand new to me, and I don't recall this ever being the case over at HHS. It's huge. It's huge. They talk a lot about the cuts at Medicaid and Medicare. Dr. Oz says we want to get rid of the waste, and there's plenty of it. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya over at NIH, he runs down his main priorities, and he talks a little bit about how they've ended gain-of-function research. And he says, listen, we needed to do that because, well, we were playing God, essentially.
NIH, $674 million from CMS. Does that affect you, and how do you portray that about what NIH is doing?
I mean, I think the key fact I look at for NIH is that the mission of the NIH is supposed to do research that improves the health and longevity of the American people. And since 2012, we've seen no increase in life expectancy in this country. In that sense, the NIH has not done its mission over the last dozen years. And in fact, NIH was involved in supporting research that may have actually led to the pandemic that we all just went through.
He's talking about NIH funding the research, the gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which, if you follow the money and the receipts, you can make that case.
We'll speak to that for a second. Gain of function just signed this executive order the other day in the Oval Office. What does that mean to the average person? You can stop it on the U.S. side, but obviously it's happening around the world.
The U.S. is the primary state that sets the example for how to do this kind of work around the world. When the U.S. says, look, we're not going to allow scientists to play God, take viruses with cockamamie justifications, make them more transmissible, more deadly, that doesn't protect us against anybody, and it causes tremendous risk. And what the president did by signing this order is he said, no more. We're not going to have another lab-generated pandemic on my watch.
And for that, we thank him. Now, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya says that they were playing God. And I think that you can make the argument that during the pandemic, these institutions were trying to replace God. Trust us. Follow us. We know the way. And they shouted down and silenced anybody who questioned them along the way. The change over at HHS couldn't be more stark to what we saw under the Biden administration. Heck, even the first Trump administration. Now, you can make the argument during the first Trump administration, he was trusting the people that were making recommendations, and he didn't exactly know the players as well as he should have. You can make the argument that Trump should have fired Fauci a long time ago when he had the opportunity to. Sure. But what you can't say is that Trump hasn't learned from his mistakes. And I think that what these four individuals represent more than anything is a clear shift. Trump saw the mistake that was made in these institutions, and he's corrected it. And RFK, I mean, put a cherry on top of that when he said during this interview, trusting the experts is not a function of science. And it's crazy to me because during the Biden administration, that was the main function of science.
And we can make answers. And above all, we are going to get rid of the taboos about challenging orthodoxies, about challenging consensus. And we're telling the public every day, all of us, that is not science. You know, your whole industry was telling the public for years, trust the experts.
Yep.
Trust the experts is not a function of science or democracy. It's a function of totalitarianism and religion.
You testified on...
Listen, and they move off that question so quick. But RFK said, looking at Brett Baer, you guys aren't exactly innocent over at Fox News when it comes to the trust the experts narrative. And he's absolutely right. They talked about a couple other things. One of the most controversial things has been, at least in the Maha movement online, the appointment of Casey Means to Surgeon General. RFK had some things to say about Casey Means, and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, well, he says he's working with VP Vance about the health impacts of that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. I'll bring you those clips when we get back. It's 10:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand from my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. Not raining right now. It's going to be raining here in a couple days. And if you got waterproofing issues at your house, you're already biting your nails. Well, you don't have to do that. You could get it fixed right now. And you should. Because these small problems, like these little waterproofing issues that you might have in your basement or crawl space, it's not going to stay small. They never do. The good news is, though, is that United Structural Systems can come to your home and give you that peace of mind. USS has helped over 30,000 homeowners in Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. And when they show up to your house, they're not about sales pressure. Nobody's showing up with a quota. Nobody's showing up with a tally that they need to hit. But what they are going to show up with is custom solutions and expert analysis. And you're going to have people that care about your home showing up. Now, whether it's foundation repair or waterproofing, USS is going to stand behind the work that they do. And when they leave the job, well, they're not leaving until you're satisfied. But when they do leave, they're leaving behind a warranty that is good for life. Even if you leave the home, the warranty can stay. That's how confident these guys are in their work. So if you see the signs that you might have some waterproofing issues, you might have some foundation repair that needs to be done, don't wait. It'll only get worse. Call USS today. That way we can get it fixed today. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems, keeping homes dry and stable. USSTN.com.
Communication between air traffic controllers and pilots goes silent again, and President Trump says Republicans should not try a tax increase on the rich, but he'd be okay if they do. These stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 10:58, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. There was a big uproar in the Maha internet community yesterday because of one Callie Means being appointed, or nominated, I should say, for Surgeon General. Now, quite a few people, including RFK's former VP hopeful, Nicole Shanahan, were very, very upset by this pick. And I'll be honest with you, it took me by surprise. There's a lot of people speaking out against this, and apparently there's some heat on the Meanses, Callie and Casey, which I was unaware of. I don't really know where the heat comes from. But I do know that last night during this interview on Fox News, RFK Jr. tried to smooth things over.
Very good place here at HHS. Casey Means, we felt, was the best person to really bring the vision of Maha to the American public. She has this unique capacity to articulate it. She's written a book that really mobilized, galvanized the movement. She is an extraordinary. She is excellence in everything that she's ever endeavored.
Obviously, she's come under her own criticism about some of the things she's advocated for. She never finished her residency, and she doesn't currently have an active medical license. But that's not.
She was the very top of her medical class at Stanford. She's during her residency, she won every award that she could win. She walked away from traditional medicine because she was not curing patients. She couldn't get anybody within her profession to look at the nutrition contributions to illness. And she said, if we're really going to heal people, if we're healers, we can't just be making our life about building new procedures. We actually have to figure out new approaches to medicine. And that's the kind of leadership that she's going to bring to our country.
And last thing.
Now, Nicole Shanahan was speaking out very much against Casey Means yesterday. Her brother, Callie Means, says Nicole Shanahan has never met Casey and lavishly praised her up to several months ago. Her criticism of Casey and the Oppo research she has given to all social media influencers does not contain a single substantive claim, all innuendo. He said, I'll leave it to others to speculate on what Nicole's motivation is for funding attacks on Casey and severing her relationship with Secretary Kennedy. But I can say from my standpoint, the commitment between Secretary Kennedy and President Trump to take on special interests and reverse the chronic disease crisis is the most inspiring thing I've witnessed in my life, and they haven't even started. I'm not picking sides in this one, but I'm definitely paying attention to it. It's 11:01, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Air traffic controllers for New Jersey's Newark Airport lost radar again for 90 seconds. Happened today.
We can hear air traffic controllers telling a FedEx plane that their radars had gone dark again, and then asking those pilots to put pressure on their company, to put pressure on federal officials to get this problem fixed. And then we hear an air traffic controller tell a private jet arriving from Cyprus into Teterboro, saying that they had just lost their radars, and if it happens again and they lose communications, to stay at or above 3,000 feet.
That's Sam Sweeney reporting. And as GOP lawmakers work on a budget bill, one of President Trump's posts to Truth Social this morning says he's willing to accept a tiny tax increase on the rich if it helps lower and middle income workers.
The president in this Truth Social post said he would be, quote, fine with Republican lawmakers raising taxes on the wealthy, but he acknowledged the political challenges of doing so. But if you read this post, his position still remains unclear. He's writing that even a tiny tax increase on the rich would lead to criticism from Democrats. He goes on to say that Republicans probably should not pursue it, but then he adds, quote, I'm okay if they do.
A Middle Tennessee State University professor has been arrested and charged with multiple financial crimes. TBI said a 65-year-old Don Hong would encourage students to donate money to the university's actuarial science program, then transfer the funds to his personal bank account. A grand jury indicted him on theft, forgery, and other charges. Here in Nashville, some members of the Metro Council demanding action against the ongoing coordinated traffic and illegal immigration enforcement operation, but not all. Here's District 26 Metro Council member Courtney Johnston giving WTN's Matt Murphy her opinion.
I will always stand by getting criminals off of our streets. And so, like I said earlier, whether they are legal, illegal, from the moon, I don't care. We have got to address the public safety issue that we have in this county and in this country, really.
Johnston says the mayor and Metro Council have no power to stop ICE, but members who are angry about it could file a resolution condemning ICE, but that's all it would be is an official opinion. Clarksville, a missing autistic teenager has been found safe. Officials have now called off the entire endangered child alert. Jonathan Rowe had gone missing near his home overnight. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.1106 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Excited for having these guys back in studio. Bo and Gabe are here. Bo Diddle, Gabe. What's up, guys?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Too much.
I promised the audience that you would bring fun stories that will anger and confuse them.
You know, that is true, but it's funny because in order to keep up with all the fun stories, I almost have to be in here every single day.
I know, dude.
So we could talk for 2 hours and we'll still forget stuff.
Well, let's see what we can get to. Let's start with an Eastern Tennessee man whose home was raided by the FBI and how you know this individual.
Yeah, so I actually got tipped off yesterday. So this happened last week, I believe. But I got tipped off by some local activists, conservative activists in Knoxville, and they texted me and said, "Did you see this?" And I click on it, and I was like, "Wow, he looks really familiar." And so long story short, for the people that aren't too familiar, this is an Eastern Tennessee man who was raided by the FBI. His phone was taken after they caught him in the act of sexually exploiting children using Kik and Snapchat.
Yeah, I got his picture on the screen real quick so you can just see how this individual looks. He don't look like the type of guy you'd want to.
Usual suspect. I mean, you look at these people, they have a look, okay? And I'm stereotyping, but I'm stereotyping pedophiles. So I think it's, it's not like people are going to get mad at that.
So you get tipped off. This guy gets raided. Joseph Brandon is his name. He was in court Thursday, accused of agreeing with a Michigan man to sexually exploit a girl online for child sexual abuse material.
Yes.
It's disgusting. It's vile. This guy, would chip her feet first would be what I would vote for if we were taking votes. But this is awful. How do you know him? How did you know him before?
So this was Christmas drag. It was a Christmas drag show 2 years ago. It was in a auditorium. I can't remember.
A Christmas drag show?
Yeah, it's because children were allowed. That's why there was conservative uproar. So I saw it online, and children were allowed to go inside of the auditorium.
For the Christmas drag show.
For the Christmas drag show. So I went to record it outside, and there was basically a protest. You had the liberals that were agreeing, that wanted to just be aggressive outside on one side of the road, and then you had conservatives on the other side of the road. Well, you know me, I love my conservative friends, but I wasn't on that side of the road. I was on the liberal side trying to get interviews. And so I would go up to him to talk to him, and he starts calling me the usual vocabulary words. Fascist, Nazi, screaming at me, get out of here. And it's just funny because his shirt says, "I stand with the LGBT community." And, now he's going to be in jail for hopefully the rest of his life. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, these individuals never spend enough time in prison.
It is very ironic. The ones that do the worst get 10 to 12 years, and then the ones that don't do as bad, maybe I shouldn't say that, but they get life. You know what I mean?
I would argue, and maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but you should have a longer sentence for abusing children than you should for killing someone. And that's just me, because you could have some sort of reason. It could be self-defense, and the courts get you wrong. There's no self-defense scenario where you're abusing a child.
You're absolutely right.
Every single time, you should be getting the maximum sentence for child abuse. If you kill someone, I honestly think that, it's not as bad, because I would rather, someone stab me than abuse my child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I would take that too.
Liberals are going to take that and clip it and call you crazy.
They can clip it all they want.
I mean, conservative pundits think that killing someone shouldn't get life in prison.
Well, no, I still think that, you should. But I'm just saying that there's a lot more nuance with killing.
I think that you could make the argument that death penalty is warranted here.
Yeah, no,
because of especially statistically, what happens to individuals that are abused as children and the likelihood of them becoming abusers into adulthood.
Absolutely.
So you can make the case by letting these people free and offend again. You're actually rippling that effect out. It's gonna hurt so many more people.
Oh, and offenders always offend more than once. I mean, you'll never see them do it just one time, go to jail, and then be a squeaky clean person.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If the FBI is investigating you, it's not, we got lucky, this is his first time. The way that the article read, he was a repeat offender that was doing it quite a bit. And it's so much that the FBI got involved and just so happened to catch him in the action.
Do you think a lot of these people use I'm sure that there are some people in the LGBT audience that are genuine and they think they're doing the right thing. But I think that there's some individuals that use that agenda for cover.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, also look at the statistics. A lot of the people that just so happen to end up in the LGBT community, it happens due to molestation.
Yeah.
And then you have the transgenderism suicide rate at an all-time high. The better thing to do is evangelize to these people and say there's a better type of community, and you're kind of in the wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that like these people are exploiting that kind of, movement. I would make the other argument. I would say that because they're in their movement, they're a lot more susceptible to these things. Sexual degeneracy will sprout out in a lot of different ways. And if you are already, diverting from sexual norms, you are opening yourself up to these sorts of stuff. I mean, if you look at, the people that have heavy like pornography addictions, right? A lot of them start identifying as LGBT after a certain amount of time. And even after that, a lot of them start getting into a lot of weird stuff online. And part of that is that kind of, pedophilic type content. So a lot of these people who are just in the LGBT have that kind of,
predisposition.
Yeah, predisposition to get caught in something like that. So
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's gross.
I'll tell you the next thing I want to do. I did this with Audrey Hell, actually. So after she was the Nashville trans shooter, just in case. So after that happened, I went to a pride parade, and my entire video was revolving around, do you disavow her? People wouldn't say no.
Really?
So what I would like to do now is go back to Knoxville, have a return of Knoxville video, and basically the entire video be, do you disavow Joseph Brandon, the man that was in your community, standing front and center in Knoxville Pride? Do you disavow his actions? That's what I want to know. See how many people will say yes, or see how many people will either refuse or outright support him.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for a video. I bet you nobody's going to say anything.
We'll see.
I don't know. I think some might, but I also think a lot will just walk away, and Bo will get kicked out of the protest from whoever the higher-ups are. Yeah.
I don't think anyone will disavow him. I think they'll try and deflect and talk about something else.
Be like, well, we have to look at the core root of the issue.
Yeah. We're hanging out with Bo Diddle and Gabe, and you got another story. So that last story was Joseph Brandon, Eastern Tennessee man who was raided by the FBI. He was trying to sexually abuse young girls, and he's a repeat offender. There's another story that's a little bit closer to Nashville that you've been following.
Yes.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
What's his name again?
The
Brandon.
Well, that was Joseph Brandon was the Knoxville guy.
Yeah, the Nashville trans.
Oh, hang on. I think it is Brandon. There's a middle school teacher.
Yeah.
Give the gist of the story.
Yeah, so this is a middle school teacher who just had to leave his other school that he was working at for reasons not yet known, trying to get to the root of that one. But he's currently working at a magnet school in Nashville. And he's now going viral online on conservative, conservative.
Benjamin Slinkard is his name.
Yes.
He's an employee for Metro Nashville Public Schools for the past 13 years. And he moonlights as his alter ego, Kennedy Ann Scott.
So let's call him Benjamin.
All right, so Benjamin Slinkard.
Yeah, Benjamin Slinkard. So now he's working at a magnet school, and he's going viral right now for posting very risque photos on his public account that any one of his students can find of him holding another grown man naked on a leash. And to make things worse, he's performing at this year's Nashville Pride on a public stage for children.
So if you're watching on the stream, I got a picture of the what Bo was just talking about. Just to be clear, it's the grown man dressed like Minnie Mouse that is the middle school teacher that will be performing this year at Nashville Pride.
Yes.
Not the guy on the leash, the one holding the leash. Does that make it better or worse?
I think that's a subjective question. I think, some people would say better, some people would say worse.
No, I mean, it's better.
Okay,
but
so
it's not good.
So how does Metro Nashville Public Schools get around hiring somebody like this and not doing like a slight social media check?
They can't. They literally can't nowadays. Like the amount of destruction that has happened in hiring systems all over the place is insane, especially through like the LGBT, even like race movements. I mean, you could have someone who like looted during BLM and they will be like, oh, well, you know, it was like some social justice cause, and they won't, you know, care about it on the application. I mean, like sane people like us, you know, we would, if we ran a business, we would be like, yeah, no, you're like not working here. But they can't because they don't want to sound prejudiced, or they don't want to sound racist or homophobic or whatever.
It's DEI essentially. If you're getting the job, and you know, I would be willing to bet that part of the reason he got the job is because he was able to say he's LGBT, so that fulfills some of the DEI needs in the school. You can't go against his post online because that's just what he identifies as. That's going towards his DEI. So yeah, it's in a tough spot, but that's what woke gets you, where now your children that are innocent just going to a school are now getting exposed to this type of perverted behavior.
And this guy's name is Benjamin Slinkard. He's an educator for the past 15 years. Slinkard worked at May Worthen Shane Elementary School for 12 years, currently teaches at MIGS, M-E-I-G-S, MIGS Middle School.
Is it magnet school?
A Nashville magnet school.
Okay.
And he is a gifted and talented teacher, they say.
Oh, he's gifted, all right. I wouldn't say talented.
Like, I don't know why there aren't like people standing outside of this school protesting. I mean, maybe there are, but there should be. I mean, I think you should be fired.
It's
personally.
sad right now. We're talking about this on air, but as we're talking, to think he's teaching kids right now.
He's teaching kids
as we speak.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't be okay.
Yeah, in an environment of, you know, let's just say 400 kids, he's exposed, promoting the propaganda, probably inviting people to his child-friendly drag show. Of course, kids are going to be interested enough to look online, and now they get to see a perverted teacher holding a naked man on a leash.
What grades does he teach? Do you know?
I think it said
5th through 8th, maybe.
Yeah, just says middle school, so that'd be 5th through 8th.
If I were a student and I found that, I would be laughing and making fun of my teacher so bad.
I know,
like,
but things have changed.
I know, but like
changed.
now, like kids don't. You know, a lot of young boys are.
Well, but the thing about this guy is they'll say, well, he's not pushing that agenda on kids. That's his private, personal time. But you can look at his social media, and there's a picture of him from 2021 on Facebook where he poses in full drag with a 7-year-old boy who's also in full drag. And he introduces that child, the 7-year-old, as his little drag sister. And so, like, you can't make the argument that he's not pushing this ideology on kids.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Let's say that he's not promoting it at all. Me as a student, I know as soon as I had a new teacher, the first thing I did when I was younger was I would say, oh, I want to be friends with them. I'm going to follow them on Instagram or Facebook, what have you. So they are definitely looking up his social accounts.
Yep.
At the bare minimum, they know what he does. Let's say he doesn't talk about it. They still get to see their teacher dressed as Mickey Mouse holding a naked man by a leash.
I mean, and I'd argue that conservative parents are probably telling, you know, their kids to stay away from him or to not talk to him, you know. So I don't know. There should be more of an uproar from these parents, in my opinion. I don't know if there is.
Well, I mean, besides you guys and Tennessee Conservative and then this radio station, I don't know if anybody else is even covering this story.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like crazy to me. You have a middle school teacher in Nashville who's going to be performing at the Nashville Pride Festival at Centennial Park, and he's influencing children with this ideology.
How do you think you're going to get the child-friendly drag show to have children there? He's going to be talking about it at school.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I knew where this school was, this is just something I would do, is I would photocopy these. I would make a pile of pictures of just that and then just put it at the front desk of the office and be like, parents, pick up or whatever. Every time a parent walks in there, they can grab a piece of paper and see, oh my God, this is my teacher, or this is my student's teacher.
I'm sure a lot of the parents have no idea.
Yeah, and they should. They should all be aware. I mean, I would be cautious about like putting these photos up like on a wall or something, because obviously I wouldn't want to scar the children around that could be seeing it. But there has to be some sort of like online forum or Facebook group or something where, you know, the parents can find that.
Yeah, I mean, But some of these parents might be like, it's stunning and brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would be gross.
I mean, it is Metro Nashville.
Yeah, and I don't know how you
Is that, I don't, I'm new to like Nashville. It's,
Well, any downtown big city, you're going to have statistically more of a liberal population.
yeah, fair.
So, if this was Cookeville as opposed to Nashville, you would have more uproar.
Yeah.
But Nashville, it voted blue,
So it's stunning and brave.
yeah, basically.
All right. We're hanging out with Bo Diddle and Gabe Vickel. It's 11:23, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Air traffic control screens go dark again. This story and more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Air traffic control screens going dark, Ken Weaver?
Going dark again.
That should be fine, though, right?
Yeah, as long as everybody looks out for each other.
All right. Well, let's pray for
And
that.
if, your taillights don't work, well, then the pilot should stick his arm out.
There you go. Do hand signals. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's 11:27, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm in studio. Bo Diddle, Gabe Victor. What's up, guys?
What is up? What is up? What is up? Oh,
There
what
you
is
go.
up? What is up? What is up?
What's up?
Where can we find your reporting and your videos online?
Great segue right there. Diddle TV on X. That's definitely the one I like to promote the most because it is most definitely the hardest to grow. So if you are an Elon Musk supporter, if you are an X user, please head on over to Diddle TV, DITTLE TV.
What do you guys think about the Pope?
I actually have a lot of opinions.
Gabe is Catholic.
Yes.
So I've been like torn on this. I was like, I don't really care. And then I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, I don't know if that's really the right answer. I think maybe I should care more than I originally did. And my mind went to Catholic NGOs that facilitate migration all over the globe.
Yeah.
And how, depending on the Pope's stance is on migration, is basically how these Catholic NGOs are going to move.
Yeah.
And, we saw the last Pope who was very pro-migration, and we saw what came with that. And I wonder what your thoughts are on this Pope. They say he's a conservative, but a lot of tweets are anti-Trump. And
So,
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Does that mean much? You're a Catholic.
I'll let him give his answer, and then because mine will be longer.
yeah, my take
a lot more
is
nuance.
So I don't like politicizing everything. Yes, my life essentially is politics, but there is a place for politics. And so for my church, for example, we are conservative. That does not mean that we endorse, or my church does not endorse Trump.
Yeah.
My church endorses anti-abortion. My church is conservative. We have traditional values. But he's not going to stand on the pulpit and say you should vote for Trump because he's not Kamala Harris or something like that. And I think the same thing holds true here. The first thing that, even myself, I fall victim to it, is I want to see where his political values are. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. His role should be to uphold the beliefs and systems of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I don't really care his political values as long as he has conservative values. To me, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think let's get your answer on the other side. We're gonna stop for news real quick. I don't know, Bo. I think you're wrong.
We'll see. We can debate.
All right, we'll debate it on the other side. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99. I never say you're wrong, but it's 11:30 on Super Talk.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. NDOT says prepare for heavy traffic in Nashville tomorrow. You've got events at Nissan Stadium, Bridgestone, Nashville Sounds are in town, Steeplechase, Nashville Soccer Club at Geodis Park, Ryman, Brooklyn Bowl, and Skirmerhorn Symphony Center will be busy tomorrow, too. NDOT wants everybody to hop on a WeGo bus or utilize scooters, Uber, and Lyft. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Radar screens went black again today at Newark Liberty International Airport. The second outage there in 2 weeks, raising safety concerns. Fortunately, the outage was brief, happened shortly before 4 o'clock with few planes in the air this morning. Here's reporter Sam Sweeney.
We can hear air traffic controllers telling a FedEx plane that their radars had gone dark again, and then asking those pilots to put pressure on their company, to put pressure on federal officials to get this problem fixed. And then we hear an air traffic controller tell a private jet arriving from Cyprus into Teterboro, saying that they had just lost their radars, and if it happens again and they lose communications, to stay at or above 3,000 feet.
Well, yesterday, the Trump administration announced a complete overhaul of the air traffic control system. As GOP lawmakers work on a budget bill, President Trump posting on social media he'd be okay with raising taxes on the rich, but added that Republicans probably shouldn't. Here's Selena Wang.
This post comes as House Republicans continue to try and negotiate what President Trump is calling a big, beautiful bill, trying to get much of his agenda passed before Memorial Day. However, the tax portion of the reconciliation bill is still not finalized as Republican lawmakers are working through some of their policy differences.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
"37 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. So I got Bo Diddle, Gabe Victel in studio. Love these guys. Good guys. Great content that they make. And Gabe is a Catholic, so I was like, oh, perfect. I want to talk to you about the Pope. And I think it's because we all know how the administration felt about the last Pope.
The Pope this morning had some very harsh words for the...
I got harsh words for the Pope. Pope wants to fix the Catholic Church.
I'm saying this as a lifelong Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I was first communion as a Catholic, confirmation as a Catholic. He ought to fix the Catholic Church and concentrate on his work and leave border enforcement to us. He wants to attack us for securing our border. He's got a wall around the Vatican, does he not? So he's got a wall around to protect his people and himself, but we can't have a wall around the United States. So I wish he'd stick to the Catholic Church and fix that and leave border enforcement to us.
So that was Tom Homan when it came to the last pope. And initially, when all the Pope news was breaking, I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then the more I thought about it, I go, well, what's his migration policy? How does he feel about open borders? Because the last guy, you can make the argument that one of the main reasons we saw the influx of African and Muslim migration to Europe was because of his wink and a nod to that.
Yeah.
Where does Pope Leo stand on migration?
So I think it's very important to first, when you talk about the Pope, when you talk about their stances on different social issues, to one, remember that there actually is official Catholic Church teaching, which in America is not something that's very familiar for a lot of Christians growing up in non-denominational or like Southern Baptist type churches. The Catholic Church has an actual official doctrine on literally everything, right? So when you're talking about like the Pope's stance, first look at what the church's stance is, and then you can kind of see where the Pope might be getting it. I would argue that Pope Francis was actually more conservative than most give him credit for, and I think that his stance on immigration is probably more conservative than the current Pope's stance on immigration from what I've seen. I think that the current Pope is very conservative in other aspects. He has denounced LGBTQ and adoption of homosexuals all over the place. And he has said that abortion isn't even an issue we should be talking about anymore because it's so obvious that the church's teaching is that it's a grave sin and that it's an atrocity that's happening. But I would argue because the Catholic Church's official teaching on immigration is that a country should be helping migrants in need if it can. A lot of Catholics worldwide kind of have this stance that no matter what kind of immigration it is, they should be helping. I personally disagree because I understand that America just doesn't have the facilities to help these people out anymore.
Well, and you can make the argument that the Catholic NGOs absolutely helped facilitate the invasion under Joe Biden.
No, yeah, and this is true. I mean, like you can take an interpretation of a couple of different people, which is why I always would point people to official church teaching other than just what a person said, because it's a bit different when it comes to Catholicism. It might be some sort of double standard that a lot of people will try to point out, but I would argue that when you have a church that has official teaching, it's different when you just have people who claim to be Catholic.
But don't you see that there's like a lot of money involved in the Catholic NGOs? Like there's so much money flowing around that even if there's official Catholic teaching that says one thing, if the Pope is like, no, you got to be pro-migrant, it kind of gives these NGOs that moral high ground that they're doing something for the greater good when they're not really doing that at all.
Well, you could make that argument, but I would be like very cautious, I guess, with making an argument like that, only because that is like the big difference, which is the Pope has only, like popes in the past 2,000 years of, the Catholic Church, have only ever spoken infallibly twice, if I'm not mistaken. So whatever the Pope says is not infallible in that instance. Whatever his personal opinions are not the law of the land for all Catholics, right? It could be an opinion that a person has, and just because the Pope is the Pope doesn't mean that they are not human, doesn't mean that they don't commit error in their own ways. The Catholic Church would just say that if the Pope was speaking infallibly, that the Holy Spirit would basically keep them from error. But that's only ever happened twice in church history, and it's when talking about, issues of doctrine that are like official, like the Trinity or Marian dogmas or stuff like that. So I would say that when it comes to immigration, you can disagree with the Pope when it comes to immigration. It's not wrong, even as a Catholic, to disagree. And I do think that it is like a very It should be something that we should be keeping an eye on, especially for probably the next 15 to 20 years, because he is a younger pope. He's 69. We should be keeping an eye on these things over time. But he's been pope for a day, and a lot of people are like going after him in both ways. They're either ready to call him the most American-loving, conservative patriot, and then there's others saying, no, he's like a liberal socialist communist. And I'm like, dude, he's probably the most moderate pick out of all of the people. Like all the cardinals, he was probably the most moderate out of all of them. So, I would encourage people to just wait and just kind of take a pause for a bit and look at, what actually could come from this pope, either in a good and a bad way. And regardless of what your opinion is, if you're a Catholic, if you're Orthodox, if you're a Protestant, just pray for him, because you have to understand that he is pastoring 1 billion people basically in the world, maybe more. So if you would, like to see the Holy Spirit guide him through his opinions and be able to have this great conservative pope in the future, it's a long time. Like 15 to 20 years is a long time. And I think that prayer is the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair take.
Yeah.
I do. Still very nervous about it.
No, yeah, it's fine to be nervous. Look, I understand.
Because I'm just like, I look at all the money that goes around with these NGOs, and I'm like, all they're looking for is a wink and a nod to keep business as usual.
No, of course. I totally understand the concerns. And everyone, I think, is never 100% sure of, their opinions on any person that could be that high status, that, that popular, I guess, in the world, right? I would just kind of take time and maybe, I know it sucks to wait, but, basically just wait, just be patient. I think that patience is something that a lot of Americans don't necessarily have because we're always so used to everything being instant. But I think that over time, it's like a good value to have as a Christian, especially when it comes to, issues of inter-theological or interdenominational theology and, different doctrines of different churches. I think it's just good to be patient when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Talk with Gabe Ichtel and Bo Diddle. Now, so yesterday I was watching in real time. When the smoke came out white,
yeah,
everybody was like losing it. It was like their team just won a championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
So
I just didn't get it. I just didn't like.
So basically,
it was very confusing. The jumping up and down,
yeah,
and the waving of the flags and the celebrating. There are people crying, and I'm just like, what am I missing? I guess I wish that there was something that got me that excited, but I was just like, I don't understand it.
Well, so I couldn't give my own personal experience because I didn't cry or cheer or anything.
You
I
weren't
was watching
jumping up and down?
Well, no, I'm sure my mom was, but I was just watching on a screen.
Your
while
mom
doing work
was
on a
losing
different
it,
screen,
just flipping tables and just let's go.
I don't know, but I will say, one, and maybe this is a different point, I guess, that I would make, but most of the world do get excited over smaller things that Americans do. I don't think that a lot of American Catholics were like jumping out of their seat, when this happened, but there were a lot of people like in Vatican City and all around the world, in Latin American countries or in Europe or in Australia, all like very excited that we have a new pope. I think that because, if you I guess, Catholic Church history, we would say that the seat is the seat of Peter, right? Who we would claim to be our first pope. I would believe that most Orthodox Christians also believe that Peter was the first pope. But because, Francis passed away, we would say that we were in a set of a contest, so the seat was empty for a bit, right? Not that we didn't necessarily have a pope because God knows who the pope is at all times, but that we didn't know and that it hadn't been revealed to us, basically, right? And don't take everything I'm saying as like 100% because, again, I've been Catholic for a year officially. Like I was confirmed a year ago, and I've only been learning about this for about 2 years. But basically, when there's black smoke, it means that the cardinals haven't come to a consensus yet. White smoke means they have. Yep. And a lot of people were scared that it was either going to be way too short, which some people were worried, and I think that that's also why a lot of people are worried on the Catholic side.
That it would be the voting would be too short.
Yeah, that it wouldn't. That they wouldn't take more time.
So they were
voting someone in.
Take it easy, find the right guy.
Yeah, some Catholics hold the position right now online that I've seen that basically they are a bit worried. They still, trust that the Holy Spirit can guide the church, but they were a bit worried that they came to a consensus after 2 days, basically, right? Where other times it's taken weeks. I think once it took a couple months or so. So, I mean, I was happy that it took 2 days and not took a month or something. But others, are a bit more skeptical. And, I would just say that a lot of people wanted to
that's where the excitement and joy came from.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it coming out fast, and then it also, I think a lot of people are happy that aren't Americans necessarily that it is an American Pope, which I think is another big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got Bo Diddle and Gabe Victel in here, and I appreciate your insight on that because I honestly was curious. You guys cover a lot of protests.
Yeah.
Where are you going next? Now, the full disclosure, we do work together at Turning Point, me and these guys. I
didn't know if that was public information.
Love these guys. And I do know that while filling out an expense report the other day, I had to say that, and this is just a real event that's happening. I had to say, Bo and Gabe are visiting the Dyke March in L.A. So that's one of the Pride festivals that you have coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. Where else are you guys going? What protests are you covering? What events are you going to be keeping your eyes on as we kind of head into the summer?
There's a lot that are up in the air where they're not yet confirmed. So time will tell. I know the one I'm pushing for that would be the soonest would be Long Beach. That is a pride parade in California. So I'm trying to hit California as much as possible because it's
seems to be a bit crazier.
Stereotypically the most liberal. Still counting down for San Francisco. That is an absolute must. I'm sure we all remember what happened in San Francisco last year. So we'll see if that happens again.
San Francisco last year was like a cesspool.
Yeah.
Like, there were like dudes drinking urine and stuff in the street.
Other, yeah.
I mean, that's... Look, I don't want to sound...
Stunning and brave.
I don't want to sound extremely anti-LGBT or whatever, but that is the ultimate conclusion of their movement. It's literally like anything goes. Don't ask questions. I can piss on you if, you let me. Like, people were literally naked. Like, they were, performing oral sex on each other. They were defecating on the streets. Like, they're animals, Like, it's gross. Nobody wants that. It's not normal.
To go further, when I'm going through the websites, which it is funny because... True, if my girlfriend didn't know I was straight, she would think I'm gay.
So funny. I know. You look at the search history, it's wild.
It's like gayprideforyou.com, LGBT calendars. But anyways, going through like all of the websites to add to his point, the level that they get away with is crazy. Like, just imagine if the tables or if the sides were switched and, it's the opposite. But some of these events, it's like sex on the beach. It's get nude in the dark. Just the theme of these parties that they're hosting, and it's just like
complete degeneracy.
Dude, where were we? Were we in Florida? It was Tampa Pride, and there was a tent that Bo interviewed a guy, and the guy basically didn't really answer much of the question. He was like, I'll come back to me later. But the tent was like this big gay cruise thing, but it also had a sponsored water park gay event that was hosted at Disney. Disney World.
That's a big
or
one.
whatever.
There's a bunch of events like that are at water parks. They're at zoos.
Exactly. But if I knew, okay, there's no chlorine. There's not enough chlorine in the world to remove whatever bacteria or virus or whatever. I would never go to a water park, but knowing that they throw these events at water parks, I'm never going again. I'm never taking my kids to a water park.
Water parks in general are out.
Oh my goodness.
I understand where you're coming from.
Disgusting.
All right, so as you guys head into the summer and you're covering these events, these protests, where can we find your coverage?
Online, Instagram at Bo Diddle, YouTube at Bo Diddle. Facebook is, I believe it's Bo Diddle with 2 E's, so BODITTLE E. Yeah, Bo Diddle was taken on Facebook. I think I took that with one of my old accounts I no longer use, so I kind of messed myself up.
You played
on
yourself.
that one, yeah.
All right.
And then Twitter, Diddle TV, DITTLE TV.
All right, cool. Well, we'll be keeping up with your reporting, and we'll be keeping up with your stories, and I'll be having you guys in for updates, all right?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Bo Diddle and Gabe, love these guys. It is 11:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 58 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration system, water softeners, betterwater.com. Chad Benson's in studio. What's up, man?
What's up?
Friday, brother. You got any big plans this weekend? What are you doing? You got gymnastics on the menu.
Gymnastics tomorrow. Play a little pickleball at some time. There'll be a nap, probably. And then that's it. That's kind of my weekend.
All right.
Yeah. What do you got, baseball?
I got baseball. Tomorrow, I am at the Murfreesboro Home Expo. That's happening at the Embassy Suites in Murfreesboro, so like right down the street from me. And we'll be there from 10 to 12.
Nice.
And then I'm just putting it out in front of everything. Like, if you're talking to me at 11:59 and that clock strikes 12.
You're running out.
I'm like Cinderella with the slippers, baby. I'm out of there because I got to get to baseball.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to be flying. Be like, no disrespect, but METS, Mets. Got to go.
That's right. You got to go for the Mets, baby.
I got to go.
Got to go for the Mets. Do you have a Mets hat that you have to wear?
I got one. And it actually pained me. So, like, I don't, ever since the Black Lives Matter stuff, I've really just, like, I turned away from sports for the most part. Like, I used to be all in on all my Boston teams. So it pained me when they were the Mets. And this is a championship they lost to a New York team 2 years before I was born.
Yeah.
And it pained me.
Like, well, yeah, because it's Boston, New York. It's a disdain for everything.
The guy, one of the other coaches said, at least we're not the Yankees. I said, all right, fair.
Fair. Yeah, because you're the other team that's kind of really, at the end of the day, it's still, it's the little brother of the little brother.
Yep, exactly.
So what'd you guys talk about today?
Man, we talked about everything. We were talking about pride parades with Bo. So I know everybody loves that. But we talked a little bit about the Pope. We talked a little bit about the UK deal. I thought you might think some of this stuff was funny. The reaction from the Brits, to Keir Starmer. They were calling him a bootlicker.
Yeah.
For saying Donald
a whole bunch. Yeah.
Donald. Yes,
Donald.
The actual citizens of Britain are like, what a bootlicker.
Yeah, they are. Well, they're looking around saying, well, the rest of the world's trying to stand up to him, and you go over there and kiss his ass. Although,
at least you weren't at the back of the queue.
No, you weren't. You weren't at the back of the queue. Although I was surprised about I was reading all the car unions are pissed because they got that carve out for the luxury vehicles. Who doesn't love a luxury vehicle?
Everybody
so Rolls
does.
Royce and all of them get to sell here with no tariffs.
Interesting.
Man, well, it's just fine because I'm looking for a new.
You got to get that Rolls, baby. Your commute is too hectic.
It's too hectic,
It's
man.
too hectic.
I need something smoother than that.
You need to be able to relax. Chad's in